I think we're coming to the end of the Ben Simmons saga finally after, over a year. But the Sixers and Ben Simmons have come to an agreement for him to be paid a portion of the $20 million that was withheld from him. They've also come to terms where they will not disclose. They're going to kind of keep that private, how much money he gets paid out. So it's
smart.
Something with that $20 million. But a lot of people online, a lot of journalists are talking about this may have some ramifications going forward. So I have to ask you guys, what impact do you think this was going to have on the next CBA deal?
I think it's going to be huge, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily 1 point. I think the biggest thing coming from this is the mental health part. I think that's going to be, because that's hard to kind of get a grasp of. When someone says that, or is there a certain steps you got to take if this is the case? Do you have to sit a certain amount of games if this is the case? And you know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be a huge conversation, and I don't know how that's going to balance out or play out. But, the holding out and guys asking for trades, that's not new. I mean, that's always been kind of a stickler for between the union and the league. That's somehow they've kind of put things in place for that. But guys are making a lot more money now, and they can miss some more games. So I do think that it's going to be huge, but I do not think it's kind of one thing. I think it's a combination of things that is going to have to be figured out.
Teja, what are your thoughts on on kind of everything that's going on? I'm sure you've seen a lot of the tweets from a lot of the Philadelphia journalists who are pretty pissed off by this and saying it's going to be maybe a lockout next season because of this whole Simmons situation.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried about a lockout. I mean, well, if we eventually hear the CBA can't be agreed upon because of certain issues, we'll know right away this is probably one of them. If their owners argue for less guarantees or some sort of assurances in the contract that players must play, don't get paid. But again, the mental health part throws a huge curveball into the whole thing, because, I mean, if he does have valid reasons as per the contract, then he has valid reasons. So what are you going to do about that? It's not just Ben, though. I mean, you're right. I mean, holdouts and stuff like that have happened forever. But I was hearing things about Kyrie's contract, that he wants in his contract he doesn't play more than 60 games, doesn't play in back-to-backs. I mean, I think that's – put that language in your contracts. It's pretty crazy. At what point do we stop saying, see what you can get in your contract, see what you can pull off in there? No back-to-backs, don't play more than 60 games. But at what point do you start saying, show up and do your job, man? Like, I mean, come on. Like, I don't know.
It's you kind of, when you say it, Teja, you kind of almost talking from a league standpoint. But I know I've been in those meetings, and I've been in, negotiating in real time. So I kind of know from a standpoint that the league wants, especially the league ownership, they want rules in place, so they have to kind of eliminate the how many times they have to tell a player no. They want to not be able to do that. They want the agreement to do all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they want to be their friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the players, from a standpoint, is like, if you got a situation, you just make a decision. Like, it's your team, like, make a decision. Like the whole, I'll give you an example, the whole age limit. The league wanted in, and the players, we wanted in. We want guys to be, we want to cut this age thing. It's getting crazy. And our standpoint was, well, just don't draft them. Like, why do you have to have a rule in to prevent it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they want rules in to prevent them from themselves, because you have some, like I said, that'll pay LeBron James $100 million a year. Some won't. But the rules are in to prevent them amongst each other, more so than against the players in a lot of situations. So where it's going to be issues amongst the players and the league, it's also a lot of issues amongst that league on how they see things.
And I get that. I mean, yeah, I'm totally not the player's perspective. I can't. It's hard to be put myself in those shoes. But and you're not. I know you're not a big era comparing era guy. Like they did this then, they did this now. But I mean, in what era ever? I mean, did you hear of guys asking in their contract negotiations to not play more than 60 games and not play back to back to be in the contract? That just
I know guys want it. I can't particularly say a guy. I know of a guy that asked for that. I do know guys that wanted that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They wanted to be able to, not play. Like especially like when I was in the league and older guys kind of say those things. I do think now I feel it's kind of harder to negotiate that because of all the changes that have been made as far as the schedule, limiting, not playing any 4 games in 5 nights and limiting how many back-to-backs you got and travel and all of the different things that were put in place that supposedly giving you the option to play more games.
Good compromise, right?
Huh? Say it again.
It was a good compromise on the league's part to do that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, so it's that's where it kind of headed. Like guys were complaining about how often you play games and all of that stuff, and it was no restrictions on practice. I mean, we had 2-a-days a week before the season started when I was in Philly. Damn, we were still doing 2-a-days. Like it was no restrictions. So I get it. I just think that, like I said, it's the league kind of wants, guidelines to protect themselves. And because if you let a couple of guys do it, then you really let everyone do it.
I want the Kyrie contracts.
Yeah.
I want the Kyrie.
And then it's almost the one thing about the league is like, once they kind of give players something, they like almost never get it back.
Mm-hmm. Which is why the dollar amount for Simmons is not public, because they don't want all players to know he got back 17 out of 20 million after not playing. Because other players, I'm not saying his mental health is true or false. I'm not going to get into that. But if you're another player and you know him, and you're like, man, he was fine.
Yeah, that's
like
he
got 17 back.
That's the playbook right
there. And that's a problem. So they're probably, there's probably, man, that's crazy.
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, I think lockouts are never good. I mean, I went through actually 3. The first one was really short. It was my going into my rookie year, like right after the draft. It was like a couple months, and so we couldn't contact the team. It was like a couple months. So I didn't even. They canceled summer league. I'm supposed to play in summer league. They had canceled summer league, and I didn't get to Seattle until maybe late August or early September. I hadn't talked to anyone until then.
Dang.
And then obviously the big lockout in 98, 99, and then I think we had another one that was, I can't remember, maybe 2004, 3, whatever, 5. We didn't miss any games, but it was a lockout part of that summer.
Yeah. It's also kind of a power shift too, right? Like, I mean, guys hold more power. I think throughout the years, they just hold more power every year, right? A little more. It moves over just a little bit. And now guys can, like you said a minute ago, guys wanted to ask for no back-to-backs and 60 games, but they wouldn't do that in the end, right?
Well, I mean, it's
now guys different. Can. They're like, you know what?
But it's also different from a standpoint that not that we didn't have unity back then. It's just that now I think that they have more unity up top, where I think that you have more players. We had, our top players are almost within a couple agents who kind of, made decisions based on the status of those players.
That's true.
It was agents that felt the same way as some ownership did. Pay the top players everything you can pay them, pay everybody else the minimum. Like it was some agents that thought that way because all their players were what? Top players.
Yep.
So it was, you had a lot more, like different thought processes going on because of the scale of things, where I think now it's a little more balanced as far as, salaries and how things are kind of seen and viewed. And I think that in their room, they have more top players in that room as far as negotiating. I don't know how much of a balance of top players, all-star players, average players, minimum players. Like, I don't really know their balance. I just know that they have a lot more higher end salary players that are heavily involved than we had when I played.
It's funny too that you said the whole owners don't like saying no, or the league doesn't either way. League owners, they don't like saying no. They want to just be in the contract so they don't have to even talk about it.
Yes.
It's kind of like what I think Kyrie wants in getting that 60 games just written in there. Yeah. So when he's trying to do his little 5-game hiatus, yes. It won't be bottom line anymore.
You don't have to ask any questions. This is what I'm doing. Like, it's already defined. Yes. Yes. So when players are that way, then it comes down to, well, you get paid all this money. You know what I'm saying? And then so players now say, well, you make all this money too.
Yep.
So
the books are open now. Everyone knows what they make. So yeah, it's crazy stuff. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. Can't wait.
Well, Kyrie, going to your boss and asking for, negotiating, that's what they do. People go with their boss all the time. I want a corner office. I want this. You can ask for it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but there's nothing wrong with asking for it.
Yeah. I mean, but it's different. You look at it from that standpoint, it's very different. Like, I don't really view it as a corner room and he's the boss upstairs. Like, I don't really view it like that. I view it more of a corporation doing business with another corporation. And that's how I kind of see it. So it's like, do you want to continue to do business with this corporation?
Gotcha.
And then from that standpoint, because I just think everyone's they own their own company. The individual little companies.
Yeah. You're saying that with the agreement between the league
just from a team's perspective and a player. I think if you got 15 players and it's 15 corporations, it's no different than, you guys all do Apple. I don't really do Apple iPhones and stuff like that, but you all do. But if you look at an iPhone and you grab it, it's like Apple doesn't make everything on there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's different companies and different pieces that produces that phone. In order to have that phone, like, every piece got to work. And those are different companies that are a part of that. Even though you look at the final product is this. You look at the final product is the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's interesting.
But the Philadelphia 76ers have, 15 different corporations that they signed in order to make that team.
So you never saw it as employee, employer?
I don't look at it like that, no. When I was younger, I did.
Okay.
But as I've gotten older, that's how I view it now.
While you were playing, did it change your post-career? Did you were like, you know what? It wasn't like that.
I probably kind of viewed it like that towards the end of my career. I think as I finished, I was able to articulate it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Do a lot of players see it that way too? Or do you think most players?
Probably not.
Okay.
I know a lot of older players didn't really view it like that. The guys nowadays might do it because there's so much information, so much more information for them and examples that they can kind of use. I do think that they're so much more advanced in as far as their thinking and research and details than we were, and should be, though. You know what I'm saying, with everything that's out there. But yeah, I really do view it that way, because it's, if someone, if things doesn't go well for a particular person, that affects him and his business. So if you go, you gotta, if you want that person to perform well, he has to have and live well, perform well. He's going to have an accountant, financial advisor, trainer, chef. He can have all of these different people that he got to make sure that he's have an agent. Like all those people work for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So he's making decisions. They all work for him.
Right.
Sound like a corporation to me or a company to me.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never thought about it that way before.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this. And Eric, that's the way that's a great soundbite for the episode right there. The whole employer and employee versus the corporations and corporations. I really liked it because I never really thought about it that way at all. And that goes for NFL. That goes for all the sport leagues.
Yeah, you're in business together, right?
Yes.
And you're bringing a brand and you're bringing an audience with you too, with every team you go to. Also, I mean, I think that's another aspect of it. That's interesting.
I think I've heard before they're partners pretty much, but I've heard the corporation versus corporation thing. It's true.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the, especially when you're dealing with certain players are corporations. So it's like,
that's what I'm saying. Like you look
literally
at LeBron James is playing and he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
He's got more money than some of the minority owners of the team, probably, It's crazy.